Hey there, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Cartagena, Colombia, and today we're going to talk about the biggest thing people asked us about when we told them we were going to Colombia, and it is about safety. Is it safe to go to Colombia? What are the scams I have to look out for? Am I going to get kidnapped when I'm there? Am I going to fall into the drug trade? Look, Colombia is a safe place to visit. You can come here. Don't freak out. Yes, there are some scams. Yes, there are some safety things. But in general, if you're coming to South America, Colombia can be a fantastic place to visit. And it can be safe if you're going to Bogota, Medellin, Cali, here in Cartagena, seeing some of the villages. So don't freak out. It is not the 80s and 90s. There is not the kidnappings and the drug war and things like that there used to be. So please stop saying, don't go to Colombia, it's so unsafe. It is. You can have a great time when you're here. And the thing is, I want to tell you about some of the safety things you need to know about. And honestly, if I look at it, there's kind of like 4 big safety issues you're going to have. One is the sun. And when I talk about the sun, it's not just here in Cartagena where it's hot and hotter and stupid hot and humid. No, if you're going to Bogota, you also have to worry about the UV rays because you're at such high elevations that will get you as well. So the heat and the sun, that is something you need to be careful with. So have a hat. Like, see, Liam's got his hat. I have mine in my pocket. You want to have that. Have your sunblock. Reapply it often. No matter where you are in the country, you're going to have to worry about that, okay? So the sun, that's your most dangerous thing. Second most dangerous thing, if you're going to be going into the mountains, altitude sickness. If you're in Bogota, it is very high. You go to Montserrat, it's even higher. You might get headaches. It might be hard to breathe. If you got high blood pressure, make your blood pressure even higher. So you do need to be careful with the altitude. So if you're going to be going in the mountains, the first day you're like in Bogota, take it easy, okay? Help your body to adjust that altitude because that can be dangerous. Now, of course, there are the usual travel worries you need to think about when you're going to go places. Obviously, don't leave your things unattended. You know, if you're going to be renting a car and driving around the country, do not leave anything of value in your car. If you're going to be going out and sitting at some of the outdoor cafes, don't leave your phone on top of your cafe table, things like that. Basic kind of things. You're in Candelaria in Bogota, you're here in Cartagena walking around the old town and these city walls. Watch out for the pickpockets. You won't tell them there, but they might be there. So that's another thing you have to worry about. And if you're going to go clubbing, you're going to go partying here in Cartagena and other parts, I won't lie to you, do be careful you don't get scoped. Basically, it's getting drugged in your drink. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's not a big thing that you're really worried about. Like, I'm not worried about it personally, but if you're traveling here as a backpacker and you're going out to the clubs because you might take a Chiva Rumbero, the party buses to go around town and then go to the clubs, do keep an eye on your drink because it has happened, and this is one of those things they mention for the state departments and stuff. But overall, honestly, those are the 4 things you really have to worry about. Otherwise, you just have some scams and touristy trap kind of things. And we'll talk about that next. So let's talk about some of the scams you might actually need to deal with when you do come here to Colombia. I know probably the biggest thing if you look online and what the State Department will warn you about is actually dating app scams. And this is actually the thing. I've been warned about this by multiple people here, and I'm here with my wife. And they're still like, be careful when you're going to meet up with someone, because if anybody's taking a liking to you and you're maybe 10 or 20 years older than them, they might have something else they're going for out of there. So the scamming from the dating apps, so if you're talking to someone online, they're like, oh, I need a new phone so we can, chat with each other. I need money to help, with my bills and everything. Can you help me out? See, they might know I'm talking about one of the big scams. That's one thing you need to be aware of when you are here. It's not something, if you're not doing the dating apps, not a big deal, but just be aware. Also, I think another safety thing when it comes to like the scams kind of thing, it's not really safety, but just some annoyance kind of thing, is realizing that nothing is free. People will try to tie a bracelet on you. People will offer you a massage on the beach. People will offer you to rap for you. There's all kinds of things on there, but anything, and that's anywhere in the world. There's never anything that's free. So just know that scam of freebie stuff isn't ever free. So just have a heads up for it. If you want the guys rapping for you here, tip them. You want to get those pictures? Tip them. You want the massage? Pay them. Don't think it's going to be free, okay? Once you realize that kind of scammy kind of thing, you kind of get to know how it works. Now, if you're in a place like Cartagena, in the old town, or if you're in Bogota, near the Palos of Bolivar, anytime there's lots of tourists, obviously you got to be careful of pickpockets. They are here just like everywhere else, and there are the scams and the 3 Monty scams and stuff. They do have those things you need to be aware of. But also there's the distraction scams. Maybe someone spills something on you, or there's a ruckus somewhere and you kind of lose your train of thought and boom, your things are gone. Do be aware of that. Another thing is if you're going to be walking around with your phone or anything, nice out there, don't leave your phone on the top of the cafe table. Don't have your phone out. I mean, People riding by on their motorcycles and grabbing people's stuff does happen here. Not a lot, out of the tourist areas a lot, but it is something you need to be aware of, so always keep track of your stuff. Another scam that you might get you, and this is one that's kind of sad because they're using the fact that Colombians are super nice to their advantage, is sometimes people are a little over helpful with their advice and suggestions of going places. So whenever you get advice, make sure you take it with a grain of salt. But do know, in general, the people are super awesome. Like the people I've met here, even the street vendors have been helpful, even if I'm not buying stuff from them. But it is one of those things just to have a heads up. I mean, just like anywhere else you go in the world, there are certain things you need to pay attention to.
So then you have things that you think are scams, but actually aren't scams when you are here. For example, the street vendors, and they'll come up again and again and again to offer you things. For example, here in Cartagena, they'll ask about if you want to do a carriage ride, or you might see ladies that come up and say, hey, would you like to get a picture with us? You know, these kind of things. And some people feel that's kind of scammy, but that's how people make a living here. So you want to think about that. So if you're going to take a picture, for example, here in Cartagena, with the ladies that are all dressed up and they have the fruit on their head, yes, you will be tipping them. That's not a scam. That's their job. The rappers that are here on the street, yes, you're tipping them. The massage ladies on the beach, if they do the job, you need to tip them. And that's not a scam. That's just how people make a living here. So don't think those are scams. Those are just kind of things that happen when you're here. Another thing that sometimes people get upset about is the haggling. Now, if you're going to be buying a t-shirt on the street, or you're going to be getting something like in the market and there's no prices there, you are expected to haggle a little bit. So it's not a scam. It's just the way it is when you're here, okay? Now, let's get back into some of the scams you should probably look out for. One thing, just like anywhere in the world, taxis. Try to avoid getting a taxi on the street when you're here in Colombia. What I would recommend is call up and get a taxi, or get an app on your phone to get a taxi for you. If you're not sure, if your Spanish isn't so good, or you have no Spanish at all, just ask the restaurant you're at, or the bar you go to, or the hotel you're staying at. Have them book the taxi for you, or the ride for you. That's going to make it a lot safer and avoid some of the, typical taxi scams, like taking you around the block and take you farther where you need to go, and these kind of things. Because if you're a place like Cartagena, I'm in Gethsemane right now, and if I want to go to the old town, I want to take a taxi there. I mean, it's literally like I can see it from where I'm standing. And so, of course, they need to go a little bit farther around. And if you're in the historic cities, sometimes it's really faster just to walk than to get a taxi anyway. But you do maybe want to kind of think about that. And also, before you take a taxi, if you're going to get one on the street or whatever, make sure you negotiate the price beforehand, because you never know, just to make sure you don't get taken for a ride, let's say. Because that is kind of one of those scams you need to watch out for as a tourist here in Colombia. Sometimes they do overcharge the tourists, or the gringo pricing, as you'll see if you called online. And that's why sometimes it's good just to haggle, to bargain a little bit, just to bring down the price in certain things, especially when there's no, price tag on there. But that's one of those things I wouldn't get too upset, because Colombia in general is not an expensive country to visit. I know Cartagena is a little pricey, but the other parts of the country, it's not bad. So you're getting overcharged, but it's not super bad, but it is one of those things you'd be watching out for. So what I recommend is ask your Colombian friends, ask your hotels, what should the price be for a taxi? What should I be paying for that, t-shirt or jersey when I'm getting on the street? That'll help you know how much they're overcharging you and how you can haggle. Let's move back into some safety tips. We're here in Cartagena. We're near the Caribbean. We're near the sea, the water, all kinds of stuff, and the beaches. And I think it's important for us to talk about some beach safety when you are here. One thing you need to realize, if you're going to go to the Pacific coast of Colombia, it's gorgeous, but man, there are dangerous riptides out there. It is a rough sea, so you do need to be very careful. That's why I'd say if you want to do more of the beachy type of vacation, I would recommend the Caribbean coast versus the Pacific coast. But even here, like if you're in Cartagena, you want to go to the islands for the beaches, but instead of just the city beaches. But if you're at the beaches, realize there's going to be street vendors that come up quite often. There's going to be the ladies that will come and massage you for free, or they're going to say it's a free massage. Eventually, they're going to want to get paid for that. So do be aware of that. It's not a scam. It's just what they're doing. So sometimes just say, no gracias, no gracias. Just remember that and be polite to them. I think that's one of the things in general for your safety. I mean, a lot of people, especially cruise passengers, get upset with the street vendors. They keep asking them and asking them and asking them. They get kind of tired of dealing with it, and they get mean to them. Don't be mean to the street vendors. They're just making a living there. That's their job. I mean, no one comes to your job and yells at you, maybe aside from your boss, but something to kind of think about. Also, like I said before, that sun and the UV rays, that's one of those things. I've seen some really burned tourists here. Even at our hotel pool, I've seen really burnt tourists. I'm like, yo, like if you're heading to the beach, make sure you're lathering up multiple times to that sunblock. And don't just get the 15, get that 30 or 50, because the sun is very strong here, like we talked about at the beginning. Now, another thing you might notice when you're here in Colombia is the driving, and there is a big safety thing there. You do need to pay attention when you're crossing the street. If you're going to be driving here, and you can drive here, you can rent and drive around the country. I mean, There's some issues with that, with the quality of the roads, and some other issues when you're driving around Colombia, but you can do it. But one thing I would say is be ready for offensive drivers, like be always on your guard when you are driving. If you're pedestrian, you always have to watch for the traffic, because I've seen a few tourists almost get clipped by the drivers here. So you want to make sure crossing at the crosswalk, but go when the locals go, because sometimes it's okay, I need to weave through the traffic to get across the street, because yeah, sometimes it's a little difficult to cross the street. So do be careful with that. Also, the walking around, a lot of the places you might go might have, cobblestone streets. So good shoes. It sounds like a weird safety habit, but a good pair of shoes is always a good thing when you travel. So you avoid maybe tripping on some cobblestones or keeping your feet safe so they don't hurt so much from your travels. So something to kind of think about. Now, another recommendation I have for you, and that's not just Colombia, that's anywhere you go around the world, try to eliminate your bling. Now, you'll notice when you're in Colombia, not in Cartagena, this is much more of a beach vacation city. If you're going to Bogota, you're going to Medellin, you'll notice people dress up a bit more than they do in like Cartagena. I will say this, try to avoid the bling. You don't want to make yourself a target, and by dressing over the top and having too much jewelry and these kind of things does kind of make you a target for those pickpockets and stuff or nefarious folks. So maybe dress down a little bit when you're here. I mean, don't be a slob, but something to kind of think about to keep yourself a little bit safer. Now, another thing I want to talk about is getting money, because yes, there are ATM scams and the skimmer scams just like you have everywhere. So if you're going to be getting money out, go to a bank and use their ATM to take it out. And yes, if you're in some of the bigger cities or smaller towns, they have an ATM. There may be a line to wait. It's not like you're walking up and getting it. I mean, I remember in Bogota, there was a line of like 30 people to go in and get money out. So do be aware of that. That's what I recommend. Getting some cash, just get at the airport. When you're there, there's multiple ATMs in Bogota. There's multiple ATMs in Cartagena when you fly in. Just get your cash there so you have it out of the way, because it's not really they like taking US dollars here. They like their Colombian pesos. So make sure you're doing that and having that cash, because it is important. Another thing I would say is in terms of when you're using your credit card, make sure you check to make sure there's the right number of zeros on the bill that they're going to put on there, because sometimes that might be a little off. I mean, not often, but it's worth keeping an eye out for it just in case. Now, one thing is when you're walking around Colombia, you're going to notice a lot of police. You're going to notice a lot of military personnel around tourist sites. And don't freak out about that. They're there for safety. They're there for showing support. They're there for showing strength and things like that. So it's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just that they're there to help you. And that's why we've actually talked to some of the police and military people when we've been here. They've smiled, they waved at the camera and all kinds of stuff. But it is one of those things. I know people get kind of freaked out when they see a guy like, is that an AK-47? Yes. Why are they all here? Oh my goodness. Look, police, military around here, that's a normal thing. Don't freak out about it. Now, one thing I want to tell you, if you're going to be coming here to Cartagena, I got to tell you about the safety of the mosquitoes. Look, if they like you, like the mosquitoes like you back home, they're going to love you here. So make sure you have the bug spray, have the wipes, have the after bite for afterwards, because that is a safety issue. Because if you're scratching all the time and uncomfortable, nobody likes that. So you want to be prepared for that. Another thing people ask is the tap water here for a safety thing. In the big cities, the tap water you can drink. If you're in rural areas, I would stick to bottled water. But I will say this about the tap water around the country that's safe to drink is it doesn't always taste so good. But brushing your teeth, if you need to drink in the middle of the night, there's no bottled water, you can drink it fine in big cities and stuff. But just be aware of that, yeah, you're probably going to be okay with it in the big cities, but it might not taste so good. So maybe do get the bottled water. And let's say you do get robbed. Let's say someone does try to mug you. Let's say something does happen. One thing I will tell you is don't fight back. Just give them your stuff. They want your cash. That's it. They want your bling. That's it. You don't need to get your butt kicked. You don't need to put yourself in more danger. Just like, here you go. Because you know what? You don't want them fighting back with you, because that could end very tragically. So they rob you, fine, hey, move on, because you know what? You can get another passport. You can go get another ATM card, but you can't get another you, all right? So be safe when you're here, and realize it's not the 80s and 90s. You can enjoy Colombia and not be scared. This place is fantastic. Wonderful food, wonderful sights, the biodiversity. I love the people here, so do come to Colombia, and don't freak out about your safety when you're here. It's not the narco, kidnapping, cocaine wasteland that you think you know from the 80s and 90s and TV, all right? So I hope this helps you know more. If you have more safety tips for Colombia, please put it down in the comments below to help out other travelers have a better time in this beautiful country.